Hello and welcome to the AIM North America Food Supply Chain webinar series. AIM North America is an alliance enabling the cooperation, development, and standardization of AIDC technologies. From barcodes to RFID to IoT, AIM North America is your advocate. Any organization with an interest in data collection is a beneficiary of these efforts. Membership provides an opportunity to influence the direction of the industry, develop policies and standards, access market reports, and engage new partners. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items I would like to go over. First is our antitrust policy. It's a policy of AIM Inc. to conduct its operations in strict compliance with the antitrust laws. No AIM activities shall create even the appearance of a violation of the letter or spirit of the antitrust laws. Next, we have AIM North America's collaboration and work product policy. This states that presentations like today's are held for the primary purpose of advancements in our industry, which necessarily involves development of work product intended solely for the public domain. AIM's developed this policy for the protection of its members who engage in this important collaborative effort. And lastly, before we get started, attendees are muted throughout the presentation. If you have a question, our presenters will be answering some of those at the end of the presentation. You can ask questions by chatting those to AIM Member Services. You will also be notified when this presentation recording is available. Today I'm here with two subject matter experts from Digimarc. First, Heidi Dethloff, who leads Digimarc's corporate communications, creative services, digital marketing, and customer advocacy programs. Heidi specializes in business-to-business marketing and go-to customer planning. Our other expert today is Becky Gross, who is a staff platform product manager at Digimarc. She manages the strategy development and release of the Digimarc platform solutions, including Digimarc's barcode for product packaging and third-party labels. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you all for joining us today. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to join AIM for today's webinar. Michael, is it okay if we go ahead and jump right in and start?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy and, of course, adjusting to new ways of working and collaborating across the industry. As Michael said, Becky and I would like to spend roughly 20 or 25 minutes talking about food waste, ways we as an industry supporting AIDC can help optimize the supply chain, and then share an example or two of how AIDC technology can help with fresh product labels and dynamic pricing. Hopefully, we will allow plenty of time for discussion and answer any questions. But before I jump in, I want to express that I am not a food loss or food waste expert by any means. Digimarc, like many of the AIM members on this call, work closely with retailers and consumer goods companies. It's really through our collective work with our customers and partners that we are learning and sizing the problem, and of course, looking for innovative and creative ways to address the challenges with our AIDC platform. Michael, we could go ahead and to the next chart. The COVID-19 pandemic has further underscored another pandemic, which is food waste. Sadly, we all saw the footage of farmers throwing away food and milk as schools and restaurants started closing around the world, further contributing to the food waste pandemic. Food waste continues to proliferate, and there's probably an estimate of $1 trillion worth of food that ends rotting in bins of consumers and retailers, or it's spoiling due to poor transportation or harvesting practices. In the US alone, an estimate of 133 billion pounds of edible food, it's probably worth over $161 billion, goes to waste every year. And about 50 billion pounds of food in the US is wasted by retailers. And it's amounting about $47 billion thrown out, even before that food even reaches our households. Yet, hunger sadly continues to escalate around the world, and it's an uncomfortable paradox for sure. So what is food waste? It refers to the decrease in the quantity or quality of food resulting from decisions or actions by our retailers, either food service providers and manufacturers, and us, consumers. It's wasted in a couple of different ways. Fresh produce, for example, deviates from what's considered optimal, for example, in terms of its shape or size or color. And so it's often removed from the supply chain during sorting operations. And then, of course, foods that are close to or at or beyond the best before date are often discarded by retailers and consumers. Around the world, about 87% of retail food waste is caused by perishable items. According to Expired, less than half of consumers can identify what sell-by labels mean, and less than 1/4 can identify what use-by labels mean. Many of us may believe that the date labels are safety indicators, which is why almost 90% of us throw away food once the expiration date actually arrives. In reality, almost no food date labels are related to safety. The vast majority are quality indicators and reflect the date that companies believe food will be at its peak taste. With only a few exceptions, food will remain wholesome or safe to eat long past its expiration date. But today, consumers and retailers will simply throw it out or donate it or try to find ways that it can be consumed without wasting. In fact, some states are currently prohibiting the sale or donation of past date food. To help dispel some of this confusion, however, leaders in the food industry are coming together, and it's supported by the FDA to standardize the use of the term best if used by, which is on many packages today. If the date is simply related to optimal quality, but not safety. So it has to be very clear that the packaged food labeling, if the date is simply related to optimal quality, but not safety. Food loss, of course, contributes to production, handling and storage, and processing and packaging, whereby food waste occurs in distribution and marketing, and then of course, consumption. There are a number of programs and initiatives to end food loss and food waste, with actions, of course, taken by farmers, by the manufacturers, retailers, the government at all levels, private sector funding, even investment groups. There are multiple efforts that are focused on prevention, recovery, and recycling. In fact, one of the Sustainable Development Goals is often referred to as Target 12.3, which has the ambition to cut in half per capita global food waste at the retail and at the consumer levels and reduce food losses along the production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses by 2030. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the EPA, and the FDA are committed to these goals. These agencies, in fact, have formed a new partnership, which they're calling the Food Waste Reduction Alliance. And there are many other industry-led initiatives underway. Of course, many retailers like Walmart and Kroger, just as an example, have very large and visible programs to meet the goals. In fact, many of you saw earlier this year, Kroger recasted its brand with a new logo and even a Fresh for Everyone tagline to reflect its food first culture and their focus on Zero Hunger, Zero Waste social impact program, which is committed to eliminating waste and hunger in their communities by 2025. Walmart too has a goal for zero waste in its own operations in Canada, Japan, the UK, and of course in the US by 2025. Walmart even has a sustainability hub, a digital experience for many of its suppliers to take part in their efforts, including Project Gigaton. It's a Walmart initiative to avoid 1 billion metric tons, or a gigaton, of greenhouse gases from the global value chain by 2030. And then, of course, suppliers can take their sustainability efforts to the next level through goal setting and get credit back from Walmart for the progress that they're making. There are so many other programs like that. There's one called Food Forward, which fights hunger and prevents food waste by rescuing fresh surplus produce and connects any overabundance with people in need. The EPA has a very helpful clickable map of the state and regional programs and many of the resources that are focused on the sustainable management of food. And of course, all of us, every one of us as consumers need to do our part to reduce food waste. So what's our role as AIDC leaders? Responsible and connected packaging and labels play a huge role across the supply chain, with AIDC front and center. And being able to reliably and efficiently capture data at the point of harvest for fresh foods and all the way through production. And together we've been able to modernize food traceability solutions with the ability to include item level or even serialized information. Combine that with track and trace systems or IoT data capture platforms and even blockchain systems. Brand manufacturers and designers also have a role and an obligation They now have innovative tools, including Digimarc and our partners, to make their packaging more optimized and efficient at all stages of the package journey. More operationally efficient through warehousing and distribution with the ability to track and trace or enable faster and easier checkout, all forms of checkout, and more reliable and efficient inventory management. And many consumer-friendly engagement opportunities exist for the brand marketers to connect directly with their consumers, connecting that physical to the digital with dynamic links to provide information well beyond what's printed on the pack, including health and safety information, or how to properly dispose, and now being able to recycle or sustainable products at the end of life with recycling in the circular economy. And speaking of recycling, plastic waste is expected to skyrocket from 260 million tons a year to 460 million tons by 2030. That's according to McKinsey. But we can save plastic recycling and sorting to another webinar topic. So we all know this story. It was actually 46 years ago, the first UPC item was scanned at a retail checkout. I think it was a 10-pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit chewing gum. It was purchased at that supermarket in Troy, Ohio. It was actually on June 26, 1974, so it's getting close to its 46th birthday. The AIDC industry has evolved so much before and since that time, responding to modern retail and commerce as we know it today. In fact, we're all stepping up to meet today's challenge with the pandemic by responding to safe, efficient, and I might add, essential retail, also a global supply chain that's under great pressure. Bruce Davis, Digimarc's CEO, recently published a new technical white paper. It's referred to as Beyond the Barcode. Digimarc makes retail operations safer and more profitable. The paper is in part a response to a GS1 report published earlier this year, proposing that the UPC symbol can no longer satisfy the complex needs of retailers and brands. It also highlights how we together as an industry can help retailers with COVID-19 disruptions. I think Bruce makes a compelling case describing how we have developed a successor data carrier that addresses the UPC's limitations and delivers unprecedented ease of use, reliability, and efficiency in retail applications, of course, relying on auto identification. I encourage you all to read it and send us your feedback. Now what I'd like to do is turn the call over to Becky, who's our platform product manager, to share how we apply AIDC to fresh product labels and share some example use cases as well. Becky, over to you.
Thanks, Heidi. Good morning, everyone. As Heidi said, my name is Becky Gross. I'm the platform product manager here at Digimarc, and I'm going to introduce some strategic ways to use an AIDC platform to help in your sustainability initiatives, especially in the fresh food departments. So when looking at your sustainability efforts and reducing waste, it's important to think outside the box. Think how a platform can work for you. Look at everything and down to even the labeling of your fresh food packaging. So let's look at the traditional thermal label up here on your screen. Nearly all departments use thermal labels, or fresh departments use thermal labels because they're easy to implement. They're a pricing tool with no dry time, quick on-demand printing, and reduced maintenance cost over traditional ink printers. While these have been working hard for us for 50 years, now it's time to help them work smarter for us. So let's go to the next image there. As Heidi was saying, the key to a successful AIDC platform is the data. That's one of the keys. So what if we can add more scannable data to these thermal labels and make something that used to just be a pricing tool into a tool that can help with accurate inventory and reducing fresh food waste? So let's first look at the inventory case. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So many of the reasons for inventory inaccuracies in fresh food come down to the inability to scan the item at the register. You can see on the screen 3 common ways that this happens with our traditional thermal labels. First, on the left, when a print head is going out and leaves gaps in the barcode, it can leave it unreadable. When the label is torn or possibly wrapped around a fish or wrapped around a container that's round, it's difficult to scan the barcode as well. Or sometimes even a label has been swapped and the wrong thing is being scanned. So if one of your goals on the front end is frictionless scanning, then you're going to end up having the great side effect and the side benefit of improved inventory. In 2018, Harris Poll survey of 500 cashiers, 19% of them indicated that when they encounter an unscannable label, they key it in as general grocery. And then 39% indicated that they manual key in the barcode numbers. Both of these can throw off inventory. Hand keying as general grocery makes you unable to find the exact reorder items, and then even hand keying the exact entire barcode can deteriorate your inventory accuracy because of mistypes. Now, for example, I was talking to a front of store scanner manager once a few months ago who told me that her store, they don't want their associates to hand key anything because one number change can mean the difference between a bag of avocados and a couch. So that can really throw things off. So how can we make our thermal labels work better for us and for our customers? By frictionless scanning and making your fresh food labels scan every time, we'll do this. Now, once you get frictionless scanning helping your inventory, let's look at the next step of adding more data to your thermal labels and getting even more benefit. So using the standard GS1 data bar format, you can add key data to a thermal label to make them work smarter for us. By adding data, we can get benefits that reach beyond the store associates, but also to the customers. And I'm going to show you the customer benefit in a minute. But for associates, let's say in the meat department, you can see on your screen a New York strip steak that expires, or it's a sell-by date of 3/21. So for these associates, finding these sell-by dates in different forms of meat coming into the store is not always easy. Dates can be on the back, dates can be on the side, stamped on the front label, on the back label, and separate label on the back. So rotating in the meat department takes some time. By adding this data as scannable, let's say the sell-by date to the label, now it becomes a scannable element and it opens up new opportunity to not only be identifying the near expiring product more easily, but to save a lot of time on rotation. So looking at this example on the screen of New York steak, your associate, let's look at it from your associate's perspective. He or she will have her handheld mobile computer in hand like this. And instead of having to pick up every meat product to look for the date, they can simply scan the top of the date or to scan the label. So let's say today's date is March 17th. The package must be sold by the 21st. As I said, the associate scanned on the 17th will see what you see on the screen. So the status is fine. There's no action. Now we're going through the meat package again on the 18th, and you've decided in your store that you want to sell things at a percentage discount as it starts nearing the product sell-by date. So it tells the associate the action to mark 40% off the label, or whatever percent you choose. As you get really close, maybe you're the day before the expiration now, same process, doing the same workflow, scanning everything. This is one, maybe now you're the day before, so you want to mark an 80% off label and move it to the clearance rack. Very clear instructions, very simple for your associates. And then of course, even better, it's very easy to find the products that you must dispose of. So, excuse me, associates can find the product, and maybe instead of saying dispose of the product, it says if it knows the exact item and it knows it can be donated, then it can also say donate the product, put in the bakery donation bin or something like that. Excuse me. Okay, So let's look at how this works for the customer. So we know that we have scanned everything for the associate, uses their mobile application. All of our customers have, well, most of them have their cell phones in their pockets. So let's make use of that. And let's make these labels and our customers work together. So if we're truly making our labels work smarter for us, then we can read them with that mobile computer, with that mobile phone that we see here, but also on the scanner at the front of store. So all three of these work together to scan something and then do the same logic so that you're getting all of these dates and all of these price changes automatically. You don't have to fix the PLU table or anything. It's doing it all automatically based on the date. So the other thing that's cool about having all of these three scan points is you're collecting data throughout the whole chain that Heidi showed earlier. So we can see what the customers are scanning. We can see if they first scanned the meat prior to buying it. Did they look for the best deal or did they look for the freshest deal? All of that can be part of the data platform. Okay, so looking at the label with the date data for the customer. The customers also have a hard time finding the expiration dates. But if the labels are scannable or the packaging is scannable with the date, then they'll be able to find their best deal more easily. So for the same New York strip steak, you might have a little bit different notifications to the user. So now you just see that it's fresh on the 17th. Now if they go to the 18th, they can see it's a special sale. They get 40% off. They can be scanning all the different meat in the case and find their best deal. So maybe now they'll keep scanning and look for the 80%. If they have, we can even add such logic where if they're scanning New York strip steak and we know that we have an 80% off in inventory to the right, we can say, check the clearance bin. There's some New York strip steak. So there's a lot of great, cool things that we can do if we have this data. And then maybe we can help get our customers to even work for us. So if they find an expired item and they bring it to the front, maybe we can give them back an incentive on their loyalty rewards program. So this is really using this data, getting this data to work for all of us together. It's working for customers, for associates, and for the whole sustainability initiatives of all of your retail customers. So the fresh food departments are growing, and adding that labeling into your digital strategy now will help as the fresh food categories continue to grow. So I've been mentioning, Heidi's been mentioning reducing food waste and sustainability, but I want to just take a quick minute to add on what other things a full AIDC platform can bring to you. So we talked about the checkout efficiency and frictionless checkout, but label improvements and packaging improvements not only help at the front of store, but also in aisle. So now that we're seeing such different checkout mechanisms with our new grocery stores setups, we have in aisle, we have reduced cashiers sometimes, and we want to try and reduce the people-to-people contact. So anything that can help that is good. A full AIDC platform will improve all form of checkout and supports a better scan and go model as well. Having a label and package that scans every time reduces the need for cashiers to twist and turn the package, so it reduces muscle strain. And then it also makes identification of packaging components easier during the manufacturing process. So it can reduce product waste due to mislabeling and other inaccuracies. Something we didn't talk about, but it can also help inventory, is adding inspection robots in the stores. And robots will be really quite useful when the package has more readable data that it can report on. So you can imagine as we are stepping through this, the more data, the dates that we can add, the robots can now identify that as well. So a full AIDC platform also enables linking of print and digital channels to drive more mobile commerce and support an omni-channel experience. So when looking at a full platform for sustainability, it's a good idea to keep in mind and look at these 5 key areas. First is transparency at every touch point. So this enables so much if you can see where the products are and where they came from. It enables ease of recalls, it eases your full track and trace initiatives. It's the diagram that Heidi had. If we can identify where the product is at each of those touch points, we can find our products very easily and have a lot of data on where they are and where they're coming from. Think about recyclability from the start. So if, for example, a package is going through a redesign, think about recyclability now, since that package may not see a redesign for several more years. So for example, let's say the recycling facilities are working on scanning new barcode types, and they'll be able to do that in 2 years, maybe, to identify a product for the correct recycling stream. Think about that now, and when it's a good idea to add that to the packaging now so it's ready when it starts going through those recycling facilities. So think about reducing waste everywhere. We talked about food waste today and having our customers help us find the food waste, help us sell the food before it becomes waste. But there's also paper and e-waste to think about, to keep in mind when looking through sustainability efforts. So I talked about this a bunch, but don't forget your customer. They can help you. Add to your mobile apps, add a way where they can help support your sustainability initiatives. So maybe they get money back, like I said, for finding an expired item, or if they submit a good idea to help your store, provide them with rewards on the platforms that you already use. So the mobile platforms, the mobile apps that you already have and they're already using. And then lastly, the circular economy is here. It's coming. It's prevalent in Europe already. So we need to start now thinking about how we can integrate the circular economy thinking into our everyday workflow, how we can reuse everything we have, how we can ensure that we're not adding to the global plastics problem. So that's all I have for today, and thank you for listening. I'm happy to have had the opportunity to talk to all of you today about sustainability efforts and reducing food waste. And as Michael said, we'll hold on the line for questions. So I'll hand it back over to him.
All right, thank you, Becky and Heidi, for your information today. Really appreciate it. And like you said, we do have some questions, so if you are ready for those now, I will ask those.
Yes, please.
You bet.
All right. So the first one I did receive is, have there been any roadblocks or complications you've noticed using these labels?
I'll take that one. So probably the biggest roadblock we see is just having the correct hardware. So if you're talking about like a Digimarc label, for example, and even if you start talking about scanning QR codes and other codes that do this, having the correct hardware enabled for scanning those codes is important. But what you can work on is just working this into their refresh program. So if a lot of retailers have a refresh program going all the time, and working on doing kind of a slow rollout where you roll out with the equipment that's already enabled, and then moving towards a full rollout once all of the equipment's upgraded.
Becky, it's Heidi. I guess I would add that many of the robotics that we're seeing out there heavily rely on image recognition technology. So when you're going down an aisle and you're scanning packaging, not so much the labels, but packaging, they're reading the facing side of that package. So they're highly dependent on image recognition technology, which may not get to item level detail, which may be important for data capture and of course for more accurate inventory management. And so having the massive mathematical redundancy and spatial redundancy that Digimarc can offer might actually help increase the reliability and efficiency of that scan performance.
Okay, thank you. Another question we received is, have you noticed any stores hesitant to utilize these like AIDC technologies And if so, what were their reasons and how did you address the concerns?
Yeah, so there is just some hesitancy on changing because change, right?
Yeah.
And also because when the data bar first came out, and it was great because we could read more data, we have more data, and everyone was excited about it. And all the technology wasn't ready yet to read it. So there are some retailers that still have just the thoughts in their mind, remembering back to when they first tried reading and scanning data bar and it wasn't quite ready yet. And so they kind of have the impression that that's going to happen again. As Digimarc, we do carry the same data as a data bar, just in a different way, but it is much faster. And I do know even the scanning technology is even better now with data bar as well. So as you're moving to these new technologies, the scanners have improved so much. I don't think they have to be as worried about it. But the way that we overcome it and that we help retailers understand is just by working with them in the beginning. And if they're worried about it, we can do scan tests. We do work with them in their labs and make sure they're comfortable before we do any rollout into their stores.
And Michael, it's Heidi again. And Becky, I think from an industry perspective, AIDC industry, I think given, grocery, for example, is essential right now, given the pandemic. I think that many retailers and grocers are leaning on AIDC right now, right? Touchless shopping. And it requires having both identification, so smart IDs, if you will, as well as the ability to do the data capture. So right now, I think our industry is, we're being tested, if you will, but we're up for the challenge working together. And I think right now we are going to help support and probably move the grocery industry to the next level of modernization, especially in light of UPC celebrating its 46-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So Heidi, going along with that, another question we received is how has COVID-19 impacted implementation? Are you seeing significant increase in interest?
I think that I'll answer two ways. I think from an industry perspective, I think there's great interest. I think the role of mobile is going to play an important role. Again, shoppers today are looking for creative ways that, many people who didn't even shop via their phone are now shopping via their phone. So it's all around us. So I think there's an increase across the industry that we're seeing for Digimarc specifically. I think that absolutely we're working closely with our current customers on how they can continue to leverage the Digimarc platform for other parts of their, I'm going to say both retail and supply chain operations. So there's great interest on new ways, creative ways of how we can tackle some of these other use cases that they're interested in exploring with us. So I would say absolutely there's great interest. But again, first and foremost, across the industry and Digimarc, safety is first, right? We want to make sure that all employees and their customers are safe. And so providing that safe environment, I think, is critical, and AIDC plays a significant role there.
Okay, thank you. Another question, so I'm actually going to merge two questions I got here together. How do you get customers to routinely use their phones to scan, and how would a customer know that, hey, I can scan this and it's going to tell me all this information? Is there another printed label on there that says, that tells them that?
That's a challenge that we face for sure. And yeah, it's a good merged question because there's different usage of phones depending on different generations, different personalities, different people. If they really like to search for those bargain hunts, they probably will have their phone out because they're using different coupon apps or something, or the loyalty card. But that is something that we are challenged with too, on getting people to use their phone more. I know even personally, I don't like to use my phone in grocery stores. So it's just a habit that we need to help start. But as far as the scanning, knowing when to scan, there are things that we can do and that our customers have done, and it's little posters, if you will, and notifications that you can scan things. So there would be, let's say on the bakery counter, we're also noticing some people don't even know what date it is, especially these days. All the dates are kind of blending together to me. But so the bakery counter will have the date up there and then says, scan the dots on the label to find when it expires or something like that. Labels, it's easier because you can see the dots. So it's almost a call to action in and of itself. Once you move over to packaging, it's more difficult because the barcode blends in with the artwork, so you can't really see it. But that's what we try and do is help the customer come up with call to actions. Maybe there are little flags that come out on the aisle. Maybe there are things, especially at self-checkout, so they know to scan, where to scan. It's all moving. Go ahead, Heidi.
Oh yeah, I was just going to jump in. This is Heidi. I think interesting. I think that we're going to see App Store usage increase significantly. I think Apple just announced their App Store facilitated an estimated of 519 billion in billions in sales. Okay, so people are definitely downloading apps, and that includes many of these retailer apps. So a lot of folks are definitely using retail apps right now, especially if they're integrated with commerce, right? There's some additional functionality. Plus, who's the new shopper? Walmart just announced their partnership with Shopify, right? So we've got folks coming in that might not be the end user consumer, but they're leaning on some of these new services to go into the store and shop on their behalf, right? So most likely they're probably using a mobile phone or mobile app to help engage or help to do that. So I do think that we're going to see more reliance on mobile usage, which would include apps from the phone be increased as well. I think the Apple announcement was an indicator of at least from sales. So again, AIDC, our industry, all of us collectively play a huge role in enabling that.
Okay, great. And just a couple more questions here. Does this allow for cross-sell or upsell? For example, like Frito-Lay potato chips, can it trigger a reminder or sale of Pepsi drink products, making it more interactive to the shopper looking for cross-segment sales?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about this. So you can use the logic and send them anywhere you want. So, and send any sort of reminders. Maybe you want to bring up a recipe and they can check, click all of those things and be directed to all of those in the store. Or exactly what you just said. Maybe there's a promotion going on together for, s'mores. So you buy the marshmallows and then say, hey, why don't you go get the Hershey's chocolate bar on aisle whatever, all of that is definitely possible, and it's because you have all that data there. So now you can send them any sort of advertisement, any sort of website that you want to do.
Yeah, I think as a marketer, this is a pretty powerful capability that allows you to, again, as I mentioned earlier, link the physical to the digital experience. And that can be marketing and promotional, but it also can enable product transparency. The nutrition fact labeling laws, I think, have been in effect. So people want to know, is this product good for me? But you can't put all that information on the package. So you need to drive to a digital experience. So again, it impacts packaging, but it could also be for in-store signage or in-store displays, markers on the floor to direct you the traffic flow. Like, it has so many opportunities, connected print to engage your consumers who don't want to touch a screen now. So there's lots of powerful benefits that the AIDC platform can bring to life.
Okay, and we'll end on this question. Do you think that this technology could be expanded to show transparency in the supply chain and where the product has come from?
Oh yeah, in fact, this is Heidi speaking. I tried to mention that earlier, but yeah, absolutely, that's one of the benefits across the supply chain, from even at the farm level. You know, our technology, for example, integrates with a variety of different IoT data platform providers, and also has the possibility and opportunity to connect with blockchain. I know that there's some folks on the line from IBM. IBM Food Trust, for example, is a good example of a blockchain implementation that allows you to track to the origin of the product. So Digimarc barcode, for example, could be leveraged as the data carrier in a blockchain implementation and other IoT implementations as well.
All right, well, that wraps it up for us today. Thank you again, Heidi and Becky, for your time and insights today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Michael, and
having
thanks
us.
everybody. We appreciate it. Please stay safe and healthy, and look forward to talking with all of you soon.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day and week.